Hello Brawlhalla fans, it's Raidhyn and welcome to the Brawlhalla Breakdown. In this ongoing video series, I'll be focusing on how the competitive meta shifts with every new patch, and in today's video, we'll be talking about version 1.8.6. I hope you guys are excited. We're going to be going over some of the competitive meta shifts, what new strategies are being developed, how the tier list of legends has shifted, and what new tactics are crucial for rising to the top of 1v1 play. Now, just as a friendly reminder, this video series is designed for those who are already familiar with 1v1 competitive play but are interested in getting a detailed look at how recent patch changes are affecting play at the highest level. If you're new to Brawlhalla, you may want to focus on other things besides the information given here, but with all of that being said, let's begin. Now, since the last iteration of this video with 1.7.2, the tier list has shifted. There were quite a few things that changed in the last patch that had an effect on game balance, including an overall rework to the guns, a lower damage on weapon tossing, improved netcode, which has allowed some players to employ their better reaction times, in addition to a few other things. And because of this, the tier list has taken a shift once again towards everybody's favorite ninja. With all of the changes, Hattori has become a little bit more of a nuisance than she was in patches prior, and because of this I have put her up in A+ tier. Now, just because she's A+ doesn't mean that you can climb out of 10 by picking the ninja at Legend Select. She's the flavor of the month, but she's not an unstoppable force. She does have weaknesses that go along with her enormous strengths. She's just a little bit more difficult to deal with than the rest of the cast because of her move speed, and now with weapon throwing not quite punishing her as well as it used to, she's able to live a lot longer than she was able to in previous patches, all around putting her slightly above the rest. Now you can see since the last patch I have dropped Lucian back down to A tier, where a majority of the cast remains. I feel that although all of these characters have different playstyles and strengths and weaknesses, they're pretty close together, and so I don't really feel comfortable trying to split them across a bigger spectrum. All these characters are viable in 1v1 and they've all been played by top players. Now Lucian has been dropped down a tier because now that the guns have been reworked, he doesn't have 100% you can't get near me powers the way that he did when he had the guns. Moving on, Queen Nai has been pulled up out of B tier and into A-. The reason for this, and I was conflicted for a while, is because her signatures have given her amazing capabilities when it comes to spacing and zoning and punishing. However, her slow movement speed and slow attack speed still bring on some heavy disadvantages when you compare it to the speedier side of the cast. Now, one thing that I haven't mentioned, but I'm sure everybody has already figured out, is that our new axe-wielding friend, Taros the Minotaur, is solidly in B tier. This was a decision that I wasn't very comfortable making, but I don't think that I could confidently put him anywhere else right now. Although some players like Scroyan, who are just godly and better than many people at making reads, have found success with this character, his play is not consistent enough in order for him to be anything but B tier. He requires too much reading and prediction on the part of the person wielding him in order for him to be effective. Even if you see something that you want to react to, his attack speed is just so slow that he can't do anything about it, and all of his signatures, unlike the new ones given to Queen Nai, also come out fairly slow. So unless your opponent is making a plethora of mistakes, or you have the reading powers of a psychic, Taros is just not a great character for 1v1. Now, this doesn't prevent him from being an absolute powerhouse in 2v2 and free-for-all, and a lot of players that I've talked to have said already that they plan on running Taros in their 2v2 teams, so perhaps when we see the next 2v2 tournament, we will be able to see some Taros action. Thatch and Gnash remain unmoved. But there's one important thing that I want to point out about this, because there's been a lot of discussion about tier lists and whether they're even useful or important, and largely I've made this because I know as a fellow fighting game person that people just search for these things. You want to know. You want to know if you're playing a quote-unquote gimped character. Well, the sad truth of the matter is that in Brawlhalla, the game is pretty well balanced unless you're at the very, very top % of players. And so, if you're new to the game, really, all you have to do is play who you think looks cool and have fun. Good players can get to the top 100 with any one of these characters, and I have seen people do it. It's not hard. Yes, there are differences and slight power imbalances between the cast, but if you're new to the game, you're going to be a lot better off just picking who you think looks cool and then have fun. Have fun with the game. If you're having fun, you will improve and you will, well, have more fun, which is why we, play games to begin with. Moving on, let's talk a little bit about some of the strategic shifts that have happened in Brawlhalla. One of the most significant is the weapon damage nerf. Essentially, the weapon damage in 1.8 was nerfed from about 10 damage a weapon toss to about 2 damage. So this is a variable based on force, but essentially you're delivering or receiving 70% less damage on average when receiving a weapon in the face. Because of this, weapon tossing is no longer as valuable as it used to. Some styles of play that relied heavily on weapon tossing are no longer as effective, and holding a weapon so that you can actually deal consistent damage has become more important. Because of this, a couple of different shifts in the meta have occurred. One of the first is that having a weapon is more important than ever. Now, this kind of happened a little bit when signatures were first implemented, but now, since you can't just throw away your weapon and go, oh, okay, it hit, I wasn't able to pick it up again, I got some damage off of it, so it's fine, that damage bonus is no longer there, making weapon tosses really good for interrupts, but no longer good for damage dealing. To illustrate the lack of damage, it takes about 40 weapon tosses to put somebody into red. So just think about that for a minute. In addition to this, one of the other things that has occurred because of this is that people are just willing to eat weapon tosses and then react afterwards. Now, the stun time on weapon tosses is crucial to comboing and interrupting still. However, characters with really high attack speed, such as Hattori or Cassidy, can respond out of weapon stun much faster than they can respond out of a dodge. There's actually less stun time on a weapon hit than there is dodge frames. I might not be making sense right now, but just understand the fact that weapon tosses have had a pretty drastic shift in the way that people are playing the game. Now, it doesn't mean that you should never throw your weapon anymore. As I mentioned, it's still very useful for interrupts and for starting unarmed combos, and that's how people are continuing to use them. Weapon tosses are being used a lot more defensively and used to interrupt heavy moves and the like, but the idea of it's okay, just space them out and throw weapons from a distance is no longer effective because, well, they're just not taking any damage. And you're put at a bigger disadvantage without a weapon now. So that is a big portion of it. One of the other things that has arisen with the recent patch, just due to the improved netcode and how much faster everyone feels, is the fact that map control has become really important. Denying people weapons is a big aspect of the game, more so than it was in previous patches. Additionally, now because the damage on spike balls wasn't nerfed, it still does anywhere from 10 to 20 points of damage, depending on your character, and the damage from mace balls, bombs, and landmines. Essentially, map control has become a lot more important, because if you're not getting damage from your weapon throws, but you can get it from those gadgets, getting to the gadgets is very important. So map control has become an increased priority for players at higher levels and has become crucial as to whether people are winning or not. Now, as I've said in the previous part of all of these videos, is that despite all of these shifts, it's still up to you to win. Ultimately, anyone can win with any character in this game. Brawlhalla is a very momentum-based game, and I have seen Teros's 3-stock Hattoris. I have seen Gnash's 3-stock Vraxxes. I have seen people win consecutive games with Thatch. The important thing is not to think about how your character is overpowered or underpowered or whether the game is in a state of imbalance. Sure, give the devs your feedback, but ultimately it's up to you as a player to improve. It's something that people have been pointing out to me recently, and a new quest that I plan to endeavor on as I return to the ladder myself in hopes to actually improve my gameplay. Because I'll admit, my own abilities have been suffering. And a big part of that is just kind of what I've always said about these fighting games, and that is to look at your play, to analyze your mistakes, and try to improve. take the knowledge and information, in this video guide and everything else that you've seen about Brawlhalla and all the people that you play with and the feedback that you get. But ultimately, it's up to you to improve and go in and plan to win, not to give up at the character select screen, not to get salty, to learn from your mistakes, and ultimately to have fun. Because, I mean, that's why I'm still playing this game, because I'm still having fun. In any case, that's all I've got for this breakdown video. I hope that you guys found it valuable and enjoying. I know some of you are going to immediately disagree with both versions of my tier lists, and that's okay because I love the discussion. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please remember to hit the like button if you did like this video. Subscribe if you want to stay in touch with more, and I hope to see you guys out on my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/Raidhyn, where I am consistently playing Brawlhalla and other fighting games about 3 to 4 times a week. So hope to see you guys out there. And also, hope to see you in ranked 1v1.